Picture two images side by side. In the first, a European knight in full armor drives a lance through the neck of a massive winged creature, scales glistening, fire pouring from its jaws. The beast, writhing in its death, throws beneath the horse's hooves. The knight is the hero. The dragon is the villain. In the second image, a Chinese emperor sits enthroned in the Forbidden City, robed in silk, embroidered with golden dragons from collar to hem, the dragon's five-clawed form wrapping around every pillar of the throne room, carved into every tile of the ceiling above his head. The emperor is not the dragon's conqueror. He is its representative on Earth, same creature scaled, serpentine, ancient, impossibly powerful. One civilization spent 1,000 years celebrating it as the highest symbol of divine authority and cosmic wisdom. The other spent 1,000 years telling stories about killing it. This is not a small difference in cultural taste. It is a window into two fundamentally different ways of understanding nature, power, and the relationship between human beings and the forces that govern the world. And when you look carefully at the physical differences between the Eastern and Western dragon, not just what they mean, but what they look like, how they move, what elements they command, those differences turn out to be the most honest thing each civilization ever drew. Start with the body. The Eastern dragon lung in Chinese, Ryu in Japanese, Yang in Korean is long, extraordinarily long. It moves through the air and water the way a river moves through a landscape, sinuous, continuous, without sharp angles, following the path of least resistance. It has no wings. It does not need them. It flies through a kind of buoyancy, carried aloft by clouds and mist and the invisible currents of the sky. Its legs are short, almost vestigial, four small clawed limbs that do not seem designed for walking on land. Its body is covered in scales, but the overall impression is not of armor, but of water, fluid, reflective, in constant motion. Its face is elaborate, a long beard or whiskers, deer-like antlers, a prominent eyes that suggest age and intelligence rather than aggression. The Chinese dragon does not roar. It does not breathe fire. It breathes clouds. It commands rain. When it moves through the sky, the storm follows. And the storm is not a threat. It is a gift. Rain on a drought-stricken field. Water in the irrigation channels that keep the rice alive. The flood that deposits the rich silt that makes the next harvest possible. The Eastern dragon is, at its physical core, a personification of water in motion, specifically, the kind of water that sustains agricultural civilization. Every feature of its body encodes this meaning. The long, flowing form is the river. The clouds it breathes are the monsoon. The absence of wings says, this creature does not conquer the sky from above. It flows through it, the way water flows through everything, finding every crack, filling every vessel, impossible to fully contain or control, and absolutely essential to life. Now look at the Western dragon. It is compact where the Eastern dragon is elongated. Its neck is thick, its body massive, its legs powerful and designed for gripping stone. It has two enormous wings, the defining feature, the thing that makes it immediately recognizable as distinct from any earthly creature, membranous and bat-like, capable of carrying a body the size of a house through the air. Its face is a predator's face, forward-facing eyes, heavy jaw, nostrils that produce fire rather than mist. The Western dragon does not flow. It lands. It occupies. It takes a mountain or a cave or a treasure hoard, and it defends that territory with fire and claw and the sheer intimidating weight of its presence. The fire it breathes is not agricultural. It does not nourish. It does not bring rain. It destroys. It clears. It marks the boundary between the dragon's domain and everything outside it. And this body, winged, armored, fire-breathing, territorially aggressive, is the body of a creature shaped by a very different relationship with the natural world. The civilizations of Northern and Western Europe did not build their survival on river irrigation and monsoon cycles. They fought for land in forests and mountains where the primary threats were wolves, bears, and other human beings. The fire that destroyed a village was not a gift, it was a catastrophe. The creature in the sky that could burn your home from above represented not abundance but annihilation. The western dragon is not the river. It is the lightning strike, the wildfire, the avalanche, the sudden, total, indiscriminate destruction that no amount of preparation can fully prevent. In Mesopotamia, the oldest civilization that left written records, the dragon appears in both forms simultaneously, which tells us something important about how early the split began. The Babylonian Tiamat, whose story is told in the Enuma Elish around 1100 BCE, is the primordial salt sea personified as a dragon or serpent, a vast, ancient, maternal force, not inherently evil, but ultimately defeated and dismembered by Marduk, so that her body can become the world. Tiamat is a Western-style dragon, in the sense that she must be killed for civilization to begin her defeat, is the precondition for order. But she is also the source of everything. The rivers flow from her eyes, the clouds from her spittle. She contains the Eastern dragon's generative power even as she plays the Western dragon's narrative role. At the same time, the Mushushu, the official dragon of Babylon, depicted on the Ishtar Gate and the processional way, associated with the god Marduk himself, is a creature of protection and divine authority, neither predator nor prey but symbol of sovereign power, placed at the entrance of the city to guard it. Babylon managed to hold both dragons in its mythology simultaneously, the chaos dragon that must be defeated and the divine dragon that protects and legitimizes. The tension between these two dragons is not a contradiction. It is an honest representation of a civilization's ambivalent relationship with the natural forces it depended on. The same rivers that brought fertility brought floods. The same power that created the world could destroy it. In India, this ambivalence reaches its most philosophically sophisticated expression. The Hindu and Buddhist traditions contain two distinct dragon-like figures that are almost mirror images of each other. The Naga, a divine serpent being, often depicted as a multi-headed cobra whose hood spread out to shelter a meditating deity, is unambiguously sacred. Nagas guard treasure, protect sacred sites, control rainfall, and appear in creation narratives as cosmic supports. The great serpent Shesha, on whose coils Vishnu rests, between creations, whose body is the foundation of the world itself. The Naga is the Eastern dragon in South Asian form, water, wisdom, protection, cosmic order. But alongside the Naga, the Vedic tradition contains Vritra, a vast serpent or dragon who blocks the cosmic rivers, holding the water of the world hostage inside a mountain, causing universal drought. The god Indra must fight and kill Vritra to release the waters and restore life. Vritra is the Western dragon, the hoarder, the blocker, the creature whose territorial occupation of what should flow freely causes universal suffering. What is philosophically extraordinary about the Indian tradition is that it does not choose between these two dragons. It needs both. The Naga and Vritra are not contradictions to be resolved. They are complementary expressions of the same ambivalence about water and power. Water controlled and directed is the Naga, sacred, nourishing, cosmically ordered. Water blocked and hoarded is Vritra, destructive, selfish, cosmically disordered. The dragon is not good or evil. The dragon is power. And power, depending on whether it flows or whether it stops, whether it gives or whether it hoards, is either the source of life or the cause of death. In Greece, the dragon drakon in Greek, from the word for seeing, for the sharp, intense gaze, appears almost exclusively in the role of guardian and obstacle. Python guards the oracle at Delphi until Apollo kills it and takes possession of the sacred site. Ladon coils around the tree at the edge of the world, guarding the golden apples of the Hesperides that Heracles must steal. The Colchian dragon that never sleeps guards the golden fleece that Jason must take. The Hydra, multi-headed, regenerating, impossible to kill by conventional means, blocks the entrance to the underworld and must be defeated by Heracles through ingenuity rather than force alone. The Greek dragon is consistently the thing between the hero and the prize, the final test, the ultimate obstacle, the guardian whose defeat proves the hero's worthiness. This narrative function reveals something specific about Greek civilization's relationship with nature and with excellence. The Greek hero is defined by his capacity to overcome, to take what nature and the divine world have placed beyond ordinary human reach. The dragon is not evil in the moral sense. It is simply the embodiment of the difficulty that excellence requires. Without the dragon, there is no quest. Without the quest, there is no hero. The dragon is the adversary that creates the possibility of greatness, and its death is always the precondition for acquiring something of immense value: the oracle, the golden fruit, the fleece, the entrance to the world below. In Northern Europe, the dragon becomes explicitly moral, associated with specific human failings that destroy civilization from within. Fafnir, in the Norse Völsunga saga, is not born a dragon. He is a dwarf who kills his own father for a treasure hoard, and his greed is so absolute, his possessiveness so total, that it physically transforms him. He becomes a dragon, his avarice made flesh, his selfishness given scales and fire. The hero Sigurd kills Fafnir and takes the treasure, but the treasure itself carries the curse of its origins, and it destroys every subsequent owner. The Norse dragon is capitalism's nightmare: wealth hoarded rather than circulated, power accumulated rather than shared, a creature who began as a social being and ended as a territorial monster because it could not stop wanting more. Jormungandr, the Midgard serpent, child of Loki, so large that it encircles the entire world and bites its own tail, is different still, not a hoarder, but a boundary, the serpentine edge of the known world, the limit beyond which even the gods cannot venture. Thor and Jormungandr are destined to kill each other at Ragnarok. The serpent that circles the world is the horizon itself, and the horizon, in the Norse understanding, is not a promise of what lies beyond, but a warning about how far even divine power can reach before it meets the force that ends it. The Norse relationship with their dragons is not about wealth or obstacle or cosmic order. It is about the edge of things, about the point at which civilization ends and the ocean begins, and the creature that lives at that boundary is the most terrifying thing in existence, precisely because it marks the limit of everything you know. The Gaulish and early British Celtic traditions offer one of the most significant exceptions to the Western dragon as villain pattern, and it is an exception that illuminates the rule. The Welsh dragon, Dry Gawk, the red dragon, is the national symbol of Wales and has been since at least the 9th century. In the Mabinogion and the Historia Regum Britanniae, the red dragon fights a white dragon beneath the earth, the red representing the native British people, the white representing the invading Saxons, and the red dragon's ultimate victory is a prophecy of national survival and eventual triumph. Here, the dragon is not the enemy, it is the champion. It is the power of the land itself, roused in defense of the people who belong to it. This Celtic use of the dragon as protective national symbol is much closer to the Chinese imperial dragon than to the St. George tradition that coexisted with it in the same geographical space, two completely different dragon traditions within the same island, reflecting two different cultural inheritances. The Roman Christian tradition brought the dragon as devil from the Mediterranean. The Celtic tradition already had the dragon as guardian from its pre-Christian past. Britain kept both, and the tension between them is visible in the flag and the story simultaneously. Which brings us to the most dramatically anti-dragon tradition in Western history, the Christian one. In the book of Revelation, the great dragon is Satan himself, the ancient serpent, the deceiver, the adversary of God and humanity. The identification of the dragon with the devil drew on older Near Eastern traditions, the serpent in Eden, the chaos dragon of Babylonian mythology, but gave them a theological precision that would shape Western civilization's relationship with the dragon for 1,000 years. When the 4th century legend of St. George killing the dragon spread across Europe, it encoded a specific theological message. The Christian knight defeats the pagan chaos monster, and the town that had been offering its children as tribute to the dragon is freed to convert. The dragon in this tradition is not ambiguous. It is not a guardian, not a test, not a personification of rain. It is the enemy of the sacred, the embodiment of the world before Christ ordered it, the final obstacle between humanity and its redemption. The fire-breathing, cave-dwelling, maiden-devouring dragon of medieval European art is a creature shaped by a specific theological necessity, the need for a visual embodiment of everything that the new religious order was replacing. The old gods became demons, the old powers became monsters, and the dragon, as the oldest and most universal symbol of pre-Christian natural power, became the most important monster of all. And then there is Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent of Mesoamerica, who refuses to fit into either the Eastern or Western category and demands a third. Quetzalcoatl is neither the flowing river serpent of China nor the winged predator of Europe. It is a synthesis, a serpent, the body of the earth, the crawling form of the underworld covered in the feathers of the Quetzal bird, the creature of the sky, of air and height and freedom. It is simultaneously the earth and the heavens, the crawling and the flying, the most earthbound and the most aerial of creatures fused into one. In Aztec cosmology, Quetzalcoatl is the creator god, the god of wind and learning and the calendar, the divine figure who descended into the underworld to retrieve the bones of the dead and create humanity from them. He is not a guardian of treasure and not a bringer of rain. He is the mediator between worlds, the creature whose very body embodies the union of opposites that makes creation possible. If the Eastern dragon is the river and the Western dragon is the storm, Quetzalcoatl is the wind, the element that belongs to neither sky nor earth entirely, that moves between them, carrying seeds and rain, and the breath of life from one world to the next. Now, step back from all of these dragons and ask the question that connects them. Why did the human imagination, on every inhabited continent, independently produce a giant, serpentine creature as the symbolic vessel for its most fundamental ideas about power, nature, and the sacred? Carl Jung's answer would be that the dragon is a universal archetype of the unconscious, specifically, of the devouring, overwhelming power of nature that the human ego must confront and either integrate or defeat in order to become fully itself. The dragon is what you face in the deepest part of the psyche, the place where the cultivated human self meets the raw, pre-personal force of nature, of instinct, of everything that existed before consciousness arrived to name it. But the cultural historian would add a crucial layer. What you do with the dragon when you meet it depends entirely on your relationship with nature. If you live in a river valley where the annual flood is the source of your survival, you worship the flood. You make it sacred. You give it a long, sinuous, water-breathing body and place it on the emperor's robe. If you live in a forest or on a coast where fire and storm and the sea's unpredictable violence are the primary threats, you make the power of destruction into a monster. You give it wings and fire and territorial aggression, and you tell stories about killing it. The dragon is the same ancient fear, the fear of the force that is larger than you, older than you, indifferent to your existence, given form by civilizations that had very different experiences of what that force actually did to them. In China, it rained. In Europe, it burned. And so in China, the dragon became the rain, sacred and life-giving. And in Europe, the dragon became the fire, monstrous and worthy of death. Same creature, same terror, different world, different dragon. And in the difference between them, in the gap between the flowing, bearded, cloud-breathing lung and the winged, fire-breathing, cave-dwelling worm of northern legend, lies one of the most honest portraits of human civilization ever drawn. Not in words, In scales, there is one more dimension of this comparison that deserves attention, and it is perhaps the most surprising: color. In Chinese tradition, the dragon's color carries precise cosmological meaning. The azure dragon of the east is associated with spring, wood, and new growth. The red dragon of the south with summer and fire, not destructive fire, but the fire of vitality and expansion. The white dragon of the west with autumn and metal, with completion and harvest. The black dragon of the north with winter and water, with depth and hidden power. The yellow dragon of the center, the imperial dragon with earth itself, with the axis around which all the others revolve. This is not decoration. It is a complete cosmological map encoded in the body of a single creature, a system in which the dragon is not just powerful but structurally central to the organization of reality. The color of the emperor's dragon robe told you something precise about the emperor's cosmological function. He was the yellow center, the earthly axis, the point at which heaven and earth communicated. In the European tradition, dragon color carries a simpler and more morally loaded symbolism. The red dragon of Wales is noble and national, the color of blood and courage and belonging. The white dragon it fights is the invader, the foreign power, the threat from outside. The black dragon of medieval bestiaries is the most evil, associated with pestilence and the devil. The green dragon, rarer, is sometimes associated with poison and corruption. Color, in the Western dragon tradition, is moral. It tells you whether the dragon is good or evil, native or foreign, protective or destructive. Color in the Eastern tradition is cosmological. It tells you which direction, which season, which element, which aspect of the universe the dragon embodies. The difference is the same difference that runs through every other aspect of the dragon comparison. The Eastern dragon is a map of the natural world's structure. The Western dragon is a moral judgment about power and its uses. What the full span of dragon mythology reveals, when laid out from Babylon to Beijing, from Athens to the Aztec capital, from the fjords of Norway to the valleys of Wales, is a portrait of the oldest and most persistent question in human culture. What is the relationship between human beings and the overwhelming forces of the natural world? Are those forces to be worshipped, integrated, made sacred, given a long, sinuous body and placed on the emperor's throne? Or are they to be confronted, defeated, transcended, given wings and fire and a cave, and slain by the hero who represents the ordered human world against the chaos beyond its walls? The dragon is the question made visible, and the fact that every civilization independently arrived at a serpentine, scaled, ancient, enormously powerful creature as the vehicle for this question, rather than, say, a giant insect, or a colossal bird, or a divine tree, suggests something about the deep roots of the image in human experience. The snake is the oldest animal that threatens us, present in the environment of our primate ancestors for millions of years, the source of a fear response so ancient it appears to be partially hardwired. Enlarge the snake to impossible proportions. Give it the features of the most powerful animals you know, the eagle's wings, the lion's claws, the crocodile's armor, and you have the dragon. Every civilization built its dragon from the same raw materials. The ancient fear of the serpent scaled up to the size of the forces that actually governed their lives, the river that fed them or drowned them, the storm that watered their fields or burned their villages, the horizon that marked the edge of the known world beyond which the sea serpent waited. The dragon is not a mythological invention. It is a mythological discovery, the creature that every human mind, in every landscape, in every era, eventually finds when it looks hard enough at the power that surrounds it and tries to give that power a face.